Kia ora and welcome to day 2 of the Beer Jerk Advent Calendar. I'm Luke.
And I'm Joe, and this is Everything's Fine by Range Brewing.
Everything's fine. Better give it a taste, hey?
Yeah, I'd love to.
It's not just from Range, it's a collaboration with Shapeshifter. So if you've been following along with the Beer Jerk journey for a while, you probably would have enjoyed the Shapeshifter collaboration with Canyon Brewing last year when we set up the Trans-Tasman collaborational. So when Beer Jerk put 12 awesome New Zealand brewers with 12 awesome Australian brewers. And that was a pretty good beer that they made, right?
Yeah, lovely. It was a dry, hot kiwi fruit saison.
Yeah.
We had a keg at the bar, and it went down a huge treat sort of around Beervana time last year.
Cheers, Joe.
Cheers.
That stinks. It is so aromatic.
Yeah.
It's just huge, and it looks like custard. You do
So
not get
good.
many beers that just look like banana juice.
Yeah, wow.
Okay. I'm going to go into New England IPA rant mode shortly.
It's like a pina colada, that.
So Range are a super hyped brewery. They exploded onto the scene as a brewery in Brisbane back in 2018, but it was they really got going in 2020. And I remember just during the COVID lockdowns, sorry to give anyone flashbacks, I've been looking at social media and following them and just seeing people queuing around the block for their releases. So they'd have release days every Friday and the beers would just sell out like that, and people would be furious that they missed out on them. They'd have an allocation for their web shop, an allocation that was available to buy there at the brewery, and it just went so quickly. And their beers were really inspired by just great Northern Hemisphere, New England IPAs especially, but also other styles. So when you look at the real exciting things that were happening in 2020, you have breweries like Other Half in New York, Cloudwater in Manchester, To All in Copenhagen, and you can really see just in the branding of Range, in their approach. When you go to their tap rooms, they're just super minimalist, super clean. It's stainless, it's white, and just their can art. Even the size of the labels I've been admiring. Just these it's a label for a 375ml can, and this is what you see with a lot of those hype American beers, and just their aesthetic and just constantly releasing new beers. They've released hundreds and hundreds of new beers. It's been quite big news recently that they've finally released a core range and started repeating some beers that people are excited about. And it's good beer, right?
Yeah, amazing beer. Yeah, we were super keen when we were setting up the advent calendar to get these guys involved. They're very hard to pin down. To do an import, you need a whole pallet worth of beer, and by the sounds of it, they don't even sit on a pallet in their own.
They just don't have
brewery.
anything available.
They just they make beer and it sells, and then they make more beer. So super exciting to get this one pretty much lined up as it was being canned.
Yep.
Got ourselves an allocation, and yeah, you lucky people get to drink it.
And we've been lining this up for years, and it's just been, a couple of times a year we'll flicker an email. It's like, guys, you got any beer you want to send to New Zealand? Nah, sorry, sold out. And they've opened up a handful of tap rooms as well. They've got tap rooms in Melbourne too. So the beer just flies off the shelves, and they haven't had any for us New Zealanders until just now. So hopefully we'll be able to get some more off of them. So this shipment, it was literally just this beer, and they sent me and Joe a few samples as well. So we've been enjoying drinking those, but sorry, there's none to share with you guys. And this approach to the New England IPA, it's different. And I remember when, sort of around 2019, I suppose, when there was just hype around the whole world about these hazy beers, these murky beers that look like this, and some really tasty beers came out in New Zealand. So around that time, the first ones would have been Party and Bullshit from Garage Project, Lid Ripper from Behemoth, and then lots of similar beers like that. But and they're obviously excellent beers. But then I flew to New York, and I mentioned before Other Half. I went to Other Half. I'd heard about them, and my mind was blown. It was just a totally different, it's a different style of beer in my mind. A beer like this to the hazies that everyone sort of knows and loves. There's more viscosity. It's just thick mouthfeel and body to it. There's a real softness to it that you just don't get in 98% of hazy IPAs here in New Zealand. As I said, they're delicious beers, but it's different to what this is. They come out occasionally, and then from New York I flew to England, and I was drinking beers from the likes of like Daya, like Verdant, like Cloudwater, who we just talked about, and then came to New Zealand, and it wasn't really until probably Sunrise Valley from Garage Project came out.
Yeah, I was obsessed with that.
Which was a beer that was in this style and was a real New England IPA.
Yeah, and I remember when I was living in the UK through sort of 2018, 2019, and into the lockdown years, that everyone was just talking about all the beers from Track and Daya, Verdant, and all the hype coming over from Europe as well. You had one or two German breweries that were involving, and all the Scandinavian breweries.
Like Falkgruber in Germany, and Omnipio and Stockholm, and
some great beer, and that sort of began the sort of discussion of people saying they were a bit sick of them and wanting to go back to make IPAs clear again and that kind of thing, which I don't think has taken off in the same way in New Zealand. It's sort of murmurs of it, but I think haze is still definitely got a grip here.
We started seeing this year a little bit of a backlash. There's a few enthusiasts in the beer groups on Facebook that are sort of anti-hazy. But as I say, it really is like two different styles. To drink a beer like this is to love it. It's just such a massive whack of aroma and flavour and that lack of bitterness. You can see why people that aren't necessarily beer fans, people that didn't like craft beer because they didn't like generic lager, they didn't like bitter IPAs. But to drink this, it's like, it's like a scented candle in beer form. It's gorgeous.
If you are honest with yourself, you can acknowledge that this is delicious. The same way I drink a pina colada because it tastes sweet and amazing. And this has some of those similar notes. There's a big whack of Sabro in there, giving that sort of coconut. There's like nectaron for all that stone fruit. So it's just a fruit salad, really. All kinds of sort of tropical and citrusy aromas.
Citra Motueka for that bit of sort of like grapefruit and a touch of bitterness in the finish.
And there's just that slight dankness sort of keeping it nice and fresh. Like, you can't drink a gallon of milkshake, but... And of course, it has to be said, there is lactose in there to bring that sweetness. So that's what the oat cream is. Lots of oat in the mash bill to keep things nice and thick.
Yep.
With that lactose to sort of round the sweetness off.
Yeah, so not all of these big New England IPAs contain lactose. In fact, not that many, but sometimes it is a thing that brewers do, and that's as Joe says, that means it's got the residual sweetness in the beer and helps with mouthfeel with the creaminess, and just really adds to it. It's kind of would have been crazy 10 years ago to think about adding milk sugar to an IPA in the days where people there was an occasional milk stout, but it was really unfashionable. And an HPC 586, which I just looked up, that's a new-ish hop from the States, which is Sabro is one of the parent hops, and that contains that. So it has that like tropical fruit bowl, sort of slightly coconut, but passion fruity type vibe to it. And it's kind of got everything. There's so much going on with
so much.
All these brilliant fruity flavours. I think it's just a lot to discover in this beer, and obviously we're drinking it very, very quickly, as it is an 8.4% beer.
Yeah, it is. It's hard. I've had to slow myself. I think if we were just sitting here talking without a camera, I'd probably have finished it by now.
We'd have a couple of empty glasses here. Yeah. We should have got one each maybe, although we wouldn't get much more work done in the warehouse this afternoon.
No.
So pretty fantastic to get some Rage beers. Really, really brilliant to be sharing them with you guys. I hope you enjoy them half as much as we're enjoying them. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow for day 3 of the Advent calendar. Cheers.
Cheers.